we were trying to push this album out to Capitol. Okay. The A&R guy in Los Angeles absolutely loved this song. For him, it was like he was ready to kick it out the door. And the quick story on that is the wedding came to New York. You guys remember that? We did a showcase in New York.
That on our
yeah,
episode.
we did a showcase in New York. They did a great job. And the A&R guy was super jazzed on it. And he ended up talking to the owners of our label. And it was not a decision I had anything to make with. And I think the owners just asked a insane amount of money for the masters. And of course, Capitol's going to go like, yeah, no, we'll just go find another band.
Yeah.
And I was bummed for days, but I wasn't a money person there, you know.
Right.
I just worked there.
That isn't the first time I've heard
fact.
that. That is nice to know. I was always like, what happened there?
What happened?
Yeah.
You guys didn't know that?
I didn't know
think
that detail.
No, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
yeah. Basically, the powers that be asked, and okay, in all fairness, to the money people, they had been involved with general market artists 10, 20 years before that, when the revenues were insanely high.
It was a different game.
It was a different era back then, you know.
Sure.
But no, they asked a crazy amount for that time period, for ownership of the masters. Whereas I would have just probably said, hey, okay, give us X amount of dollars and give us a point override, you know, on it. Because then, and then I'd have gone out and tried to continue the process, you know, and find more bands and continue the process based off the success of the wedding, you know. But yeah, that's what shot us in the foot, ultimately. You guys definitely, Capitol absolutely wanted you guys 100%. And they just couldn't get a deal done.
That's nice to know.
I never knew that.
Pat yourselves on the back, guys.
Dude,
Pat yourselves on the back.
Dude, the A&R guy, the funniest part of the story is, you know, we're in Nashville. I'm in Nashville producing, and I ran into this several times. You know, obviously with my work with RK and a couple other people that I worked with, I was dealing with people in Los Angeles and New York, whether it was mix engineers or whatever have you, some pretty frontline guys like Andy Wallace or the Lord Alges, you know, and stuff like that. And I always got the same darn thing. And the same thing with this A&R guy out of LA. It's like, Nashville had this thing. It's either cowboy boots or Christian music. You know, that there was no middle ground there as far as the LA industry was concerned. And this guy was like, when I handed him, I developed a relationship because of RK. He really liked what we had done and what I had worked with them on. And so I handed him Polarity. And he got back to me. It's like, this is unbelievable, you know? And that's when we set the whole thing up. And I was really hoping to pull that across the finish line because it would have been great for the wedding and it would have been great for our label as well.
All ships rise with the tide, right? Like
Absolutely.
That move would have been for everyone.
So that's the backstory.
Crazy.
I remember the line that I heard was that we didn't have a large enough established fan base. But that makes sense now, is if they were like, well, your fan base isn't large. If the price that they're wanting,
they're
the price that they're
asking,
asking, like
doesn't match with this. Yeah.
We're already underwater here. But that's really cool to know. I never knew that.
No, and you guys got to remember back then, this was before labels were looking at internet numbers. You know what I mean? And trying to decide a fan base off of, because streaming at that point people were still buying CDs. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so the reason that argument wouldn't have held up back then is because they were signing all kinds of bands with the hope of developing them. AKA Letter Kills, a band like that from back in that, who made a killer album that never went anywhere. But it was and of course Matt Shelton became later part of the story of the wedding. But at the same time, that's exactly what it was. What's that?
Full circle. And now I'm a part of Letter Kills.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's great. Cody, how many bands are you playing in, man?
Yeah, Project 86.
A lot of bands. Yeah, a lot of bands.
And he makes burgers on the in-between, man. That's impressive.
I play music on the in-between.
I love that, guys. Well, you guys are awesome, and you definitely deserved a bigger deal than what you had. You just did, you know.
Thanks, Mark.
That's
I
awesome.
Yeah.
appreciate that.